It's no secret that Final Fantasy is probably best known for its rich characters and engaging stories, but that's not all it has to offer. Part of the appeal has always been the battles we face along the way, and the brilliant music that goes with them, of course. Each game's combat system might be different, but they all share in the endless onslaught of random encounters triggered on the overworld, and with everyone's favourite, boss battles. Some of these bosses are off the beaten track, some bottleneck your progression in the story, and some are plain unwinnable, until you fix your strategy, that is. But they aren't the only frustrating fights around, so join us as we take a look at the 7 Final Fantasy battles we didn't win the first time, and if you say you did, I reckon you're lying. Fresh out of Midgar, the world of FF7 reveals itself to be lush and green in a way the opening sequence most certainly isn't. We're led to a vast open area where the most dangerous things around are chocobos. That is, until we go further and see what looks like a swamp with a shadowy worm-like creature swimming tirelessly around it. We all try to outrun it, and those wisest among us saved our games first. Towering over the party, the Midgar Zolom easily has the highest HP of any enemy you've fought so far, but otherwise doesn't come across as a threat, even though it hits pretty hard. It's not until you whittle its health down to 3/4 that the real challenge starts and makes us wish we could go back to the slums. Rearing back like a snake about to strike, it gains the ability to remove a random party member from the battle, not just once but twice, leaving you to solo it if you're unlucky enough. Keep fighting and you'll eventually see the Serpent's ultimate attack, a fire elemental spell called Beta, which will probably take you out in one go. Of course, there's no place to go but through the swamp, so you either have to grind until you can call yourself a Zolom Slayer or outrun the monster on Birdback to continue the game. But we're not quite done. Come back later with an enemy skill materia equipped and survive Beta, and you'll have the spell for your own nefarious use. I remember my high school prom. Awkward teens dancing, one guy trying to get everyone's attention, the loner off in the corner, a midnight rendezvous fighting a T-Rex. Final Fantasy VIII is of course the title that resembles our world the closest, with realistically proportioned characters, card collecting, and a teen cast spending time on campus. The whole thing screams 90s aesthetic, so why not double down and pay tribute to one of the biggest movies of the decade? Just one would be bad enough, but there's dozens roaming around Garden's training center, just waiting to have an unsuspecting seed wannabe for dinner. You don't have to fight them, of course, but where's the fun in that? As if the whole idea wasn't weird enough, before you even enter the training grounds, Squalls asks if he's fought one before, to which he gives the typical teenage response of, dunno. Honestly, just let the dino eat him, Quistis. In battle, the T-Rexaur hits like a train, using its tail to reduce the entire party's health to critical levels, and then picking you off with its mighty jaws. Scanning it reveals it has insane amounts of HP, and the description almost seems to mock us. A helpful tutorial tells us that they're vulnerable to sleep spells, but if you're anything like I was in 1999, you thought, screw the tutorial, I know how to play video games. You were wrong, and so was I. Been to the opera lately? I doubt anything you've seen lately combines a romantic tragedy with a giant octopus hell-bent on crushing the lead with a 4-ton weight. But if you have, let us know what the show was in the comments below. Famous for all the right reasons, this silly subplot is necessary to advance the story proper, wherein Runic Knight Celes is forced to take the role of a so-called opera floozy in order to gain access to the world's sole airship. This, flawless plan goes sideways when good old Uncle Ulti takes up a spot in the attic, ready to drop a weight on Celes in the name of retaliation. This forces Locke and Co to rush to her defense, since as we all know, the show must go on. The battle itself is one thing. Ultros throws out confused spells like they're candy and zips around the stage to his heart's content, requiring you to shake up your strategy on a moment's notice. But what really made us rage is the countdown. Getting to Ultros is pain enough, but the clock ticking away just made us want to spam attacks to take him out of the picture as soon as possible. Of course, even if you fail this section, you get to rewatch the beautiful performance by Celes. Just don't mess up too many times. Imagine you're Cecil Harvey. In the last day or two, you've stolen another country's crystal, been stripped of captaincy for daring to stand up for yourself, and then at dawnbreak been sent away from the castle as a delivery boy. Our introduction to the world of FF4 sees us deep in a cavern that warns you to leave, which we naturally ignore. We've got a ring to hand over. The encounter rate in the cave is more challenging than the monsters themselves, until you get to the exit, that is. Waiting for us is a dragon made of mist, which doesn't seem like much of a challenge for a first boss, but if you mistime the newly introduced ATB bar and attack while its form is changed, well, God have mercy on your soul. This isn't the last time patience in battle is important, but it's so hard to hold off when all we want to do is be heroes and get on with the adventure. Of course, the next time we see the Mist Dragon is a surprise. It comes out of nowhere to save the party from the claws of certain death, and from then on becomes an addition to the other Eidolons you can call upon in battle. Think it recognises Cecil in his new get-up? If you're not paying attention to your HP, any enemy in FF13 can easily become an issue, but we've got a bone to pick with one in particular. After the many corridors of Cocoon, we're transported to the wide open world of Grand Pulse, a breath of fresh air with its natural environment and abundance of creatures. The field design has monsters running around for you to see and avoid if you choose, which means that you can see threats from a distance, and there's plenty of threat on Pulse. Just look at the elephantine Adamantoises plodding around undisturbed. Just like the rest of the world, you won't be disturbing them either, not right away anyway. With the Seedstone missions having opened up to you and a few locations off the beaten track to explore, there's plenty to occupy our attention. But sooner or later, we all started thinking, these missions are too easy, I can take down something bigger. The screen rumbling as you get closer is your last warning, and then before you know it, the battle is over. A couple of stomps is likely all that is needed to wipe the whole party out, and even if you're quick enough to summon before that happens, there's no way that you'll be wiping out its HP pool before it gets back up again. At least taking one out isn't strictly necessary, but if you want those shiny ultimate weapons, you'll be needing the trapezohedron they drop. From the very first time Clive takes on the powers of another icon, it's obvious at some point we'll be gaining the power of all of them. Just look at all empty space waiting to be filled. While every battle against these oversized summons is something of a struggle, the most difficult opponent we face is Bahamut, the legendary Dragon King. Notably absent from the story until around the halfway point, his dominant is the Prince of Sambrek, Dion, who could well have been the star of his own game. Dion is presented as a noble-hearted man with his main priority being his country, but as we all know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Hell is an apt word for the state Sambrek's capital is left in. Having been manipulated to insanity, Dion raises the city as Bahamut, and it comes down to us being the only ones capable of putting an end to the madness. It's this fight that truly highlights for the first time that the people you've been fighting may not be your true enemies, but that doesn't mean all can be resolved with peace. If the desperation to bring sense back to Dion wasn't enough to have you button mashing, his Gigaflare certainly will. Not only will you need to be quick, but you'll have to have good aim as well. Good luck balancing that when you're being distracted by the visuals and music. At least the cutscene afterwards gives us a chance to rest our sore thumbs. It's no secret that FF9 is one big homage to previous titles in the series, particularly the first 5. Back in the days of the NES and the SNES, the maps were divided into squares with monsters assigned to them, sometimes at much higher levels than the party was intended to fight. These peninsulas of power make an appearance in almost every title, so it's no surprise that FF9 has something similar as another nod to its predecessors. The final dungeon of Disc 1 has you travel to Gizmaluke's grotto, where you can find Moogle's Mugata and Mugme trying to enjoy their honeymoon. Once rescued from beneath a giant bell, the couple sets up shop at the back of the cave that leads back to the surface. Wait, what was that? Popos Heights has nothing but random encounters going for it, one of which is a friendly monster, and if the Garudas didn't scare you with their high-level abilities, the Grand Dragons certainly will. With absurdly high HP for this stage of the game, if the high strength or thunder spells don't take you out, then watch out for the Poison Claw. It's common knowledge now that casting level 5 Death will take them out right away, but this early on you won't have access to that ability, meaning that the only real way to have any hope of beating one is to have a Coral Ring. And of course, if you didn't let Freya win the Festival of the Hunt, you won't have one of those either. We can't help but feel like Mogota wanted us to fail. Maybe next time, tell us there's 20-foot tall dragons out there instead of begging for Kupo nuts. So that was our list of 7 Final Fantasy battles we didn't beat the first time. Of course, this is a pretty subjective list. Let us know which fights you struggle with on your first time in the comments below. If you'd like to hear more Final Fantasy discussion, we also have a podcast linked in the description below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.